What's up, guys? Running it back with another replay, bringing a faction that's usually outside of my wheelhouse, typically playing Khorne or Beastmen, something along those lines, but wanting to get some more factions under my belt, so going to be bringing Demons of Chaos. Obviously, really love the Chaos Gods. They're very fun and flavorful. They're pretty strong now, especially with the recent buffs to demonic infantry, so wanted to see how these guys fare. They do have a very high win rate on the Total Tavern leaderboard right now. Wanted to see what exactly the fuss was about. So, gonna be bringing a pretty wide army, honestly. Lots of Plague Bearers, 3 of those guys, with 3 Bloodletters, Sour Guts, and the Blue Horrors, and an Exalted Great Unclean One, who's obviously got the Mortis engine, which will counteract a lot of the passive healing on the vampire counts, making it pretty open for me to get some Bloodletters in there and do much better work than they otherwise would if they were having to chew through all of the extra healing and effects that the vampire counts can obviously put down on their units. In addition, he's just a really solid combat lord and not vulnerable to the Von Carstein Lord, who my opponent has brought. Storm of the Night will absolutely wreck Demon Princes, and I really didn't want to have to deal with any of that. I know that vampire counts do have pretty strong flyers in general, and I wanted to see how this guy could perform in this matchup. He does also have Blight Swarm, pretty good at tearing down the melee defense, making vampire count units even squishier, who already have pretty poor melee stats, but you know how it is. Gonna just get this game going. Don't want to spend too long rambling. Do have a tendency of doing that. But anyways, Children of Nurgle, and then Miasma of Pestilence, and the Stream of Corruption. No Fleshy Abundance, which is a bit risky, but luckily there's no shooting, so this guy's safer than he normally would be. So a little bit more willing to cut that spell just to get the extra firepower from the Blue Horrors. I brought them as well as the Sour Guts because I figured, you know, Crypt Horrors are just a great unit. I don't want to not have answers to them. And with the fact that Von Carstein Lord can shut down flyers really well, Screamers are not much of an option here in the opening. I didn't want to have to worry about just grinding up against these guys. So we'll see how that goes. Getting on the point already, jumping in with the Blue Horrors and the like. My opponent did a good job of capping the middle point with the Dire Wolves. Getting out here on the flank now, taking this objective too, and getting a little bit of a lead here on me. But I am getting on my own objective in the back here. 1 Plague Bearer going to secure this position, and Bloodletters, and all of my much better capture weight here. Bit of a miss with a Scab Scrape. Not really sure what happened there. First volley going to roast some of the White King's health off. Not do too much damage, though. They have high armor and silver shields.
From the foe.
Much better cap weight here, so I'm just trying to get as many units as possible on to take this objective early. Direwolves haven't capped the objective or moving out onto the flank here, so I'm going to summon out some Seekers. I really don't want them getting on the Sour Guts and the Blue Horrors before they can get fire on the Crypt Horrors here, who are going to be trying to charge right through these Bloodletters, who are going to be going in, trying to stop them up a little bit. Unfortunately, they do get flattened. In response, though, the Beast of Nurgle here is going to be providing the poison and slowing these guys down enough to help the Blue Horrors pull back a little bit, and just stopping up enough models for the Sour Guts to get huge attacks in on these guys, taking massive damage already. Getting debuffed by my Miasma of Pestilence cast, and in a very bad fight for them. Out here on the flank, the Seekers just go straight onto the Dire Wolves, but do get countercharged by the Von Carstein Lord, who is providing pretty big AP attacks against these guys, doing a lot of damage, so I'm going to jump out of combat there and try and save those guys for a later day. I'm going to turn around now that the Vampire Lord is going to the middle fight here, trying to save his poor Crypt Horrors, who are really getting mulched down. Dire Wolves do get roadblocked by the Bloodletters, who, obviously fighting a infantry-sized unit, are tearing them apart. Trying to get past, but again running into another roadblock unit with the Plague Bearers. And this is really how you kind of want to play a blob engagement against a Mortis engine. My opponent's playing very cagey with this thing, keeping it away from my Exalted Great Unclean One. I'm trying to micro this guy onto it and kill this thing. I obviously don't want it to be doing the work that I know it can do, but again, really well played by my opponent, keeping it pretty safe. Unfortunately for him, the Cryptars are pretty much dead and gone, getting absolutely no value. Sour Guts, Blue Horrors, attacks from the Beast of Nurgle here, and the Big Lord, the Big Chungus himself also getting good work in with the Bloodletters nipping at their heels. As you can see, I have established a huge value lead, but all of the infantry that I've got here in the middle as it stands right now, everything that was engaged against the Mortis engine has been worked down pretty well, and not looking too hot for all of them. The White Kings are also getting good attacks in on these guys, doing a lot of good work with the magical attacks that the Mortis engine is providing. My opponent is dropping his micro a little bit with this Mortis engine, but I do kind of understand why. He's trying to bring some answers out to get himself back in this game. It's really not been going too well for him, losing most of his mobility in the early engagements. Both Direwolves are gone, and the summons have dissipated, allowing my Sour Guts. These Blue Horrors have gotten free. The Sour Guts are running from this Skeleton summon, and the Feasters in the Dusk not really able to find a good engagement. Attacking some Plague Bearers back here, but a little bit too deep. Trying to get them onto my ranged units, but getting intercepted by Demonettes, Plague Bearers, and Seekers coming in here just to try and peel off this summon unit. I want to get these guys back firing into that blob fight and supporting my units as soon as possible. My Bloodletters, unfortunately, they get hit by a huge breath attack and then countercharged, or just charged down in general, by the Black Knights, who absolutely flatten them. These guys are going to start routing here in just a moment with the big Dragon Lord really putting the nail in the coffin on them. Very well played here. In the middle fight, though, a very underrated play and unit is being taken out. The Corpse Cart giving Vigor reduction is honestly a very, very powerful effect. Perfect Vigor gives so many stat buffs, as well as this Vigor Mortis also giving a little bit of a buff to melee defense and melee attack. Means that it's going to, over time, become a very unfavorable situation for me to trade into, but getting rid of this now, it's going to make it a little bit easier for me to deal with. But another Corpse Cart, this one, a Balefire Corpse Cart coming in, kind of replacing that, keeping these guys nice and charged up on their Vigor. So, very well played. Unfortunately, Black Knights, they get a good charge on the Demonettes, but Seekers are just so quick. I mean, outspeeding these guys, even without the poison, significantly. I believe these have 70-something speed. Seekers at 100. They managed to get on the back of them long enough to just throw in huge, huge AP attacks. The Dire Pack come out trying to countercharge this Seeker unit, but the Demonettes are able to intercept them, getting pretty good damage in on them. And now that they're spread out and not really able to get that critical mass, I'm going to turn around with the Seekers and finish these guys off. 1,400 value in the early going on the Seekers. Very, very, very impressive performance from them, as well as the Demonettes helping me intercept and control the fight on the flank, making it a little bit less dense here in the middle. Without a critical mass of infantry and other chaff units to stop my Exalted Great Unclean One and Beast of Nurgle, I've been able to work down these White Kings pretty well now, who don't have the cover they need. They're very sticky and annoying. With protection from zombies and skeleton warriors or Graveguard or whatever, they would be much more difficult to deal with. But now, getting huge AP attacks with my big, powerful single entities here, Beast of Nurgle and the Exalted Great Unclean One, tearing these guys apart now. So putting myself up very favorably at this point. And it was looking really good. I mean, I really don't know what else to say. The Feasters in the Dusk, having gotten worked down pretty well, I just decided to leave the Sour Guts in combat against them. They're going to slowly attrition these guys down. Pretty good value on these guys. Still, they've killed some Blue Horrors, gotten some pretty good damage in on the Sour Guts, but like I said, all the damage that they took early in the fight is giving me the opportunity to just slowly work down the remainder of the unit with my Sour Guts, who have pretty decent combat stats for a ranged unit. Here in the back, I believe another, Skeleton Warrior summon, dissipating, shut down this other pink horror here, and some Bloodletters coming in to replace all of my very tattered infantry. I have unfortunately not been able to deal with the Mortis engine up to this point, which is getting quite a bit of value, up to 1600 so far, but man, the Exalted Great Unclean One, huge stream of corruption coming in here, disgusting effects. Love the VFX in this game. Really beautiful. Getting a good cast on these Crypt Ghouls, doing a little bit of damage, just chipping away at them before they get into combat, and chasing the Mortis engine away from the Stearnsman and the White King here. Denying my opponent that extra passive healing with the regeneration there and leaving these guys very isolated against some very dangerous counter units. Seekers and the Demonettes here going to do really great work with these guys lacking the magical damage that would be giving them that extra punch against all of these units and would make them a pretty hard counter to what I have. More Bloodletters flying in here, also going to just surround this unit completely and going to be working them down as quickly as possible. The Crypt Ghouls going to support the against the Demonettes there. Some firepower coming in from the Pink Horse, getting on that Mortis engine, finally getting some really good work done on it. It has taken quite a bit of damage, and it has healed through quite a bit, though, with its own regeneration effect and the passive healing Reliquary Binding, I believe. Does it not also get that? No, just the regeneration. But anyways, the summons here, the Skeleton Spearmen are just trying to hang in there, trying to get on these Pink Horrors, but not really able to catch them, and getting pulled apart from supporting my opponent's other units is a very risky proposition. He really needs to keep these guys closer in to support against the Barons of the Bog, who have gotten not a lot of value, but killed a lot of chaff units. Again, keeping my opponent from building up critical mass here on the middle point has been absolutely imperative, and I have done a very good job of that. Working down what units he is able to get on here, roadblock others, and just be annoying in general. Seeing my opponent's Lord being pretty low, I bring this Shrieking Skyrays in, trying to get on this guy and finish him off, but Storm of the Night proving to be a little too powerful, doing a lot of work, getting right through the shields, chunking through the health pretty effectively. Even now, man, oh my goodness, just so strong. I do get a really good Lamprey's Bite, though, from these guys, so getting a little bit of value back on them, hitting the Crypt Ghouls and doing a lot of damage to them. I didn't realize how much it did in the heat of the combat, but enabling my Bloodletters to get better engagement over here, just getting through the Stearnsman, man, who have gotten okay value, but losing them early is very painful. This is a very stalwart unit, typically very difficult to deal with, but being isolated the way they are away from the passive healing, the Corpse Cart, and the Mortis engine, they are slowly getting worked down. And this is really where the there's a bit of a misapprehension that Mortis engine fights and the like have no real micro in them. While it is certainly a little bit static, getting your single entities and the like onto appropriate targets is a very important element. I have killed off a Corpse Cart. This Corpse Cart here has been worked down by the Exalted Great Unclean One over time, up to 4100 value. Most of that with the Mortis engine just draining out the infantry and, draining the Dire Pack. The Dire Pack here came in a second time and killed my Beast of Nurgle pretty much by themselves, man. Surrounded it, just nibbled that poor guy down. A really unfortunate situation for me. Evening up the value here for my opponent pretty well, but with my mobility having pretty decisively won the flank engagements for me and the dire pack, you know, crumbling out of existence, I am able to focus fire all of my fire range damage right onto the Crypt Horrors, who, again, out of position and vulnerable with fighting a powerful single entity, Warp Flame giving the 10% weakness to fire in addition to their weakness from regeneration. Absolutely mulched by all of these powerful ranged attacks. And some good damage going in on the Mortis Engine as well, which is up to 3,300 value. I've done a good job of keeping most of my infantry from getting drained by this thing, but this big block fight over here, I'm not really able to pull my units out. I'm trying to just kill the zombies and clear the last few chaff units out while getting some good firepower on the Mortis Engine. But it is, in turn, getting fat value on my infantry. Big attack coming in here from the Exalted Great Unclean One. Finally clearing this guy out. Down to 800, getting chunked out and going to be dissipating in just a moment. Black Knights came in here. They were going for the Plague Bearers, but I am able to intercept them with the Screamers, who do get hit by Storm of the Night and take quite a bit of damage, but stopping up the charge on these guys. Some Bloodletters who are hanging out here on the side, able to get a full surround on this unit and really start dragging them down. So, denying my opponent mobility. Again, proving to be pretty decisive. He's in desperation mode at this point. He really has not been able to get the engagements that he wants. His units that are fast enough to catch my ranged units have been getting countered pretty heavily on their dive attempts. And he just really can't, like I said, like I'm saying yet again, very important to emphasize, not being able to build up that full staunch wall of zombies and skeletons, crypt ghouls, graveguard, whatever your opponent is bringing out has been proving pretty decisive. And while my Exalted Great Unclean One is very low and suffering from not having fleshy abundance, probably should have brought it anyways, but, you know, regardless, able to outlast all of my opponent's other units, and with the Vampire Lord going down there, it's going to pretty much be curtains. Some zombies out here just getting torn apart by the Flamers, and my opponent does kind of throw in the towel there. Very understandable. It was very much unwinnable at that point, but he was making some pretty good plays. Outside of maybe some unoptimized opening units, the Crypt Horrors really being the only bad choice here. They're just so vulnerable to so many different things, especially the Horrors. Just leave these guys in the pool, ultimately, and really committing to them. Bringing 2 other units in the reserve army here. I think just getting rid of these 2 guys, bringing a lot more infantry to keep all of these SEs alive would have been a better choice, but it is what it is. I think he was expecting that his mobility would be a little bit more free to get good damage. I think he was expecting the Crypt Ghouls to kind of counter the very low armor that Demons of Chaos have. But, you know, that's all well and good until your units get isolated and torn apart, which I was able to do on the flanks very well. Just having superior mobility. The Seekers really putting the game on their back in that early going out there on the flank with the Demonette support. Proving to be pretty decisive, and the Sour Guts able to stay alive and just shoot all game, getting up to 1,900 value. Doing a lot of damage to the Mortis Engine there at the end, as well as killing the Crypt Horrors in the early going, and a second rotation of Crypt Horrors coming out, getting roasted by them as well. That's going to be it for this one. Love to play this guy again and see how he optimizes his build going forward. If you liked what you saw here, subscribe, hit the bell, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Take care, guys. Peace.